part one, we were discussing the fact that the urethane, that is polyurethane, has found its way into the consumer goods market, both in furniture and in automotive uses, more now than ever before. And what the public is finding is that the items that they're purchasing are not holding up. Perhaps they thought they were buying a higher quality piece of furniture, maybe leather, only to discover that it is deteriorating in a short amount of time, and it's in fact urethane. So the customer is very disappointed, and the customer is facing the fact that they have to either replace or repair the furniture. Well, that is also a dilemma for the repair technician, because often urethane is beyond repairing, and replacing or inserting is often too expensive. And so sometimes the repair technician might repair just a section that's starting to deteriorate, but of course that's going to be a stopgap measure too, because it's not going to arrest what's happening to the rest of the piece. So it's a dilemma for the consumer as well as the repair technician. And the most common question we get from the repair technician is, how can we tell when what we're working on is urethane? And that's a very good question, because even the most seasoned technician can be fooled. The industry is producing a urethane that mimics leather in so many aspects that it's very difficult to tell the difference, and even I've been fooled. Let's take a look at some of the characteristics that can help us to identify when we're working with urethane. First of all, let's consider the thickness of the material. Now here we're looking at vinyl, which is often thick. And the reason for that is, in the production of PVC or vinyl, the fabric is sent through a few times and mixed with material that doubles the thickness of the PVC layer. And so over time, we've become accustomed to repairing that kind of thickness of fabric. On the other hand, urethane often presents as a much thinner laminate. And when it starts to peel, it might even have the appearance of onion paper. Urethane often has this wrinkling characteristic. If the surface is not broken, you can still see that it's wrinkled as it's delaminating. And while vinyl now seems to be delaminating more than it ever used to, that is a characteristic of the urethanes as well. And here's another example of the paper-thin delamination. Here we have an example of the checking and the separating that occurs with urethane. This is a relatively new Mercedes-Benz seat. Now, where the MB Tex is typically vinyl, they can use anything vinyl or urethane in there if they want to and still call it MB Tex. This driver's seat has no leather in it whatsoever and no vinyl. It's all urethane. So the upholsterer has replaced this perforated urethane with perforated leather. That's going to be the only leather in the vehicle. And now I'm in the process of finding a color that I can adjust and recolor that to match. This is an aftermarket seat cover that someone ordered by mistake, I think, because it was left over in a used car. Is it leather? Well, it feels like leather. It sort of reacts like leather, but there's sort of a hint that it's urethane. But it's so very close, and certainly the end consumer wouldn't be able to tell. We can flip it over, though, and we can see on the back side the layer of cloth. This is the cloth that the urethane is laminated to. So we have the advantage here of looking at the underside and figuring out that it is in fact urethane. Another typical characteristic of the urethanes is the very slippery surface. It's very slick. and so it'll be uncharacteristically smooth when compared to leather or vinyl. And that brings up another topic. Modern urethane seat designs often incorporate a decorative or contrasting color stitch line. So if we're going to do any repairing, we need to be able to mask on the stitch line. Now in this example, we didn't clean first, so of course the tape is not going to stick. We can't even measure the amount of energy of adhesion on this tape. Okay, well, we could have expected that. So how about if we do a proper cleaning and prep step like we're always talking about? But now look, we can't even get the tape to stick at all. The tape stuck better when the seat was dirty. And now that it's clean and we have such a slick surface, the tape won't stick at all. So even though we've done everything right, we still don't have adhesion. And adhesion is the responsibility of the repair technician. So we're applying a couple of coats of adhesion promoter. And of the adhesion promoters out there, the consensus amongst technicians is go with the more expensive one. You can use adhesion promoter in any circumstance without affecting the seat whatsoever. Now for this test, I'm not putting it clear over the stitching as we do sometimes as a protector for that. Just checking for adhesion here with one application of our masking tape. And interestingly, we get a measurement by the energy of adhesion that we gained just by using the adhesion promoter. Does this mean then that we have to use adhesion promoter on everything from here on in? Well, it could mean that. But it's definitely the responsibility of you, the applicator, the repair technician, to discern when you need the adhesion promoter. Quite likely, every time you encounter a urethane, that would be necessary. So that's going to involve another expensive product, and as I mentioned previously, that if you polled technicians, they would pick the most expensive adhesion promoter as the one that works for them. Which means that the traditionalist, ones not wanting to improve or to expand their business or not wanting to pay more for inventory items, these people are going to be left behind. At the very least, they're going to meet with failure after failure in today's market. So it's incumbent more now than ever before that the repair technician becomes aware and is more discerning than ever before. He has to have a greater product knowledge and maybe a better inventory and a better working routine than ever before in history. Now, the other thing that you can do as a technician to discern whether you're working with urethane is to do a test or an assay when you get to the job. We know that alcohol, for example, will soften the finish of leather, so that's an indication that we're working with leather. But even with urethane, even acetone will not affect the surface. So that can be a good test. Also, heat is a good test to discern what we are working with. We know that vinyl will respond to heat. It can be manipulated because it's a thermoplastic, whereas polyurethane is not a thermoplastic, so it's going to react differently to heat. In fact, with urethanes, we haven't talked about it yet, but we're going to feature this in a future video. We can actually heat the urethane and soften the adhesive that is making this bonding, and we can affect the bonding of it that way. So we'll talk about that in the future. There's also thermoplastic polyurethanes, which we're going to face more and more in the future as well, and we'll need more experience on dealing with those and to see how we're going to handle those. So we have to be ever aware, more than ever now in our industry. And there's also a trend which is a dangerous trend, and we see that with the Mobile Tech Expo, where the interior repair people are not featured. If there's any flexible material repairing to be done, it's being portrayed now as an add-on to the detailers. But you will not be successful if you're going to view this industry as an add-on. You have to be all in. You have to, I mean, even the most experienced technician out there can have a problem today. And we've already seen this happen. People that have been in the business for a long time will get involved in something they shouldn't be involved in. They get in trouble with their customer. Now they're in quicksand, and how are they going to get out? They don't understand what they're working with. They don't understand what a correct approach to the repair is going to be, or they don't understand maybe they should not have accepted the job in the first place. So this is why you will not be successful as an add-on. You have to be all in. You have to be educated. You have to have all the products, no matter how expensive they are. You have to be discerning more now than ever. Let's look at how the public is being fooled. Here the term leather soft is being used. It's a trademark name. It doesn't mean that it's leather. Notice in the material listing it says leather/faux leather. What does that mean? Is it some of each? If that's true, then it could be the bonded leather, which is basically a cheap layer of leather with another cheap layer of urethane bonded over top. Of course, that's junk. Here's a good one. Vegan leather. Is it leather? No. But cows do eat grass. How about this one? Breathable leather. The customer thinks they're buying leather. Sorry. Upholstery material, faux leather. They have to say faux leather because they can't say fake leather. Of course, nobody's going to buy fake, but faux leather sounds way better. There is currently a big rant going on in the reupholstery industry about vegan leather. One snippet says that vegan leather is a term made up by marketing people because leather has always been associated with high quality, upmarket vehicles. The reason marketing departments keep using it is because fake leather and plastic leather don't sound as sexy. A frequent argument is, if leather is so disgusting to vegans, then how hypocritical is it to keep using the word leather to sell products? If you want to be honest, forthright, and transparent, why not call vinyl PVC? Why not call urethane urethane? Processing these and leather can be all equally harmful to the environment. Here's another customer that's been fooled. She thought she bought a leather couch, but after 7 months it's already peeling. We know what that is. It's urethane. This customer bought the protection plan, which is a scam. The repairs consisted of magic marker and plastic melted onto the leather couch. Terrible. So the repair tech is in hot water. For this customer, within less than 2 months, the stitching and material of the seats came apart. I finally got a replacement, and not more than 3 months later, the new replacement had the same problem. Here's a customer that bought a couch, and less than a year later, the cushions are falling apart. More of the same urethane scam. This person says, I was in the market for a new leather sofa and love seat and found one I really like the style of. I was told by the salesperson that it was real leather, with the exception of the back and sides. Well, about 6 months later, the seating areas are starting to peel, and when I looked under the seat, I discovered a tag that had no mention of leather as a material. I was lied to. Now I am out $2,000. Wonderful. This person similarly was misled. They said, I supposedly purchased a leather sofa. The sofa was labeled top grain, cowhide, and leather match. I specifically asked the salesperson what the term leather match meant. She indicated that the seating area was top grain cowhide and all other areas were the next lower grade of leather. Ultimately, she found out that it was all vinyl. This customer states, read the reviews. Anyone that buys stuff has it falling apart 6 months later. Well, there is much more to be said about this dilemma with urethane, and we will feature that in upcoming videos. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.